Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to another video for today, and this is going to be regarding something that just happened in the video game industry, something I would consider is a huge loss to the video game industry. EA Games, or EA itself, Electronic Arts, decided to close down one of their best studios that they have, and that is, of course, Visceral Games. Visceral Games just got shut down earlier today, and It really sucks. It really does. And I could sit here and talk about how EA is just this monster of a company and no one should like EA and EA is a cancer to the gaming industry, yada, yada, yada. I could talk about that, but really I wanted to make this video because I want to talk about Visceral Games, okay? Visceral Games just got shut down, and I hope everybody that worked for Visceral Games gets a job somewhere. Hopefully somewhere better, not EA is what I'm trying to say, because EA is notorious for shutting down studios or buying out certain things and then changing them completely to make them more EA. But I'm looking at you, Star Wars, sadly, but that is, I'm not talking about EA. Screw EA right now, okay? Yeah, everybody hates EA. Everybody's gonna talk about how EA is just the worst. I'm here to talk about Visceral Games, because Visceral Games is a studio that actually has been a big part of my childhood, and I already knew this, but they weren't always just called Visceral Games. They were always out there for the last 20 years. Since 1998, they've always been out there making really top quality games. Do they have some stumbles here and there? Sure. Especially more recently, they had a Battlefield Hardline and, of course, Dead Space 3, which I enjoyed. Actually, I really enjoyed it, but I didn't like Hardline. So they've had their fair share of stumbles here and there, you know, and some games that are okay but not memorable that they've done. But when it comes to the quality of games and some stuff that I've played over my lifetime, I would say Visceral Games has been a huge part of my video game life, I guess you could say. So I just wanted to talk about Visceral Games, okay? Visceral Games used to be called EA Redwood Shores, I think. Yeah, Redwood Shores. They changed their name to Visceral in 2009. Before that, they made games like Future Cop LAPD, which I actually never played. I heard it's a good game, though. They made stuff like Cyber Tiger. They started making some Tiger Woods games. NASCAR. They started slowly building up to more recognizable stuff. Not that Tiger Woods isn't recognizable, but you know what I mean. Then they did a game called 007 Agent Under Fire, which is technically not that great of a game, even when you consider how bad movie games were back then. You know, when you look at this game, it's okay. It is. But when I was a kid, I played that with my friends all the time. And you know why I played that more than stuff like Nightfire, which I love, don't get me wrong, and all these other 007 games? I played that game so much multiplayer with my friends because it had the jetpack. I played that game so much on GameCube, and I think I had it on PS2 also. We played that so much because we were just flying around. You could change the, like, I think you could change the gravity and stuff so you have low gravity too. So you're just flying around and stuff. It was so much fun. That game is a big part of my childhood. I played that game constantly. That, Halo. I even played a lot of Nightfire, don't get me wrong. Even though I had to play that intro over and over again for reasons. Okay, I didn't have my memory card and stuff. But that game is really a big part of my childhood. It might not be that good of a game. I know a lot of people don't care for it. But it was just a great game. And I was a huge fan of James Bond even when I was younger like that. When I started playing the game, I was like 12, 13. I know it came out like 2001. But when I was playing it, it was a huge part of my childhood. So just right there, like they already have something that's a big part of me. Then they released stuff like Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King, which was actually a freaking fantastic movie game, based on, of course, The Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. They didn't do the other two, which I found surprising. At least I don't think so. It's not listed here, at least. They didn't do Fellowship of the Ring, which I didn't care for, or Two Towers, which I think is actually the best of those three. But Return of the King is still one of the best movie games out there, and I was really hoping when The Hobbit started coming out, they would actually start releasing like HD remasters of the first three Lord of the Rings games, but they never did. I was really hoping they would, because I would love to play Two Towers and Return of the King again, because those games for the time really did the cinematic movie experience well. I have a fly flying around. I hope you don't see him. He's not there. No, just ignore him. It's not about him. The fly didn't get shut down today. Okay, Visceral did. But yeah, no, I mean, Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King is a great movie game that really did the movies well. It actually really brought those movies to like a home PS2 or Xbox or wherever you played them on. Did a great job of translating that, is what I'm trying to say. Then they made James Bond 007 Everything or Nothing, which was great as well. I actually really liked that one. That one went into third-person view, and just like the previous game, Agent Under Fire had Pierce Brosnan. I thought that one was great. I think it was that one was more just like, I mean, Agent Under Fire wasn't based on a movie either, but Everything or Nothing had like, if I remember correctly, had Jaws in it, and I think he was played by Willem Dafoe. I could be wrong. I think that's true, but that was a great game. I remember really enjoying that. I don't know if it had multiplayer. Even if it did, I don't think I ever played it. But that game I really enjoyed, and they of course made From Russia with Love, which I thought was a really solid game as well. I don't think that's great though. I think that's probably their weakest, just from memory, the weakest James Bond game they made. But it was really cool to see them recreate that movie. I thought it was awesome. Again, it's probably better than Agent Under Fire, but from my mind's eye, I guess Agent Under Fire is one of my favorite games back then. That and Nightfire. Don't get me wrong, I love GoldenEye, but those games, whew. Oh, there were some good James Bond games. I wish they came back. I wish James Bond came back into the video game industry. But yeah, they released some great games. Sorry, that was my phone. They also did Lord of the Rings: The Third Age, which I thought was a solid game too. I wasn't a big fan of it because I wasn't into those kind of strategy games, but it was a solid game. They did some other games. They did the Godfather game, which I thought was great. It was a great translation of the movie. I mean, it was kind of a new story too, from what I remember. But it was still very well done. My Sims, which I played on Wii, I thought that was okay. I like building my house and stuff. Simpsons game I thought was actually really well done. It was the one that came out for the movie pretty much, and I thought that was, when it came out, that was probably the best Simpsons game that has been released. Then I played more of like Hit and Run later. Like I never played Hit and Run when it first came out. I played that a little bit later after Simpsons game came out. I was like, okay, this one's better. But the Simpsons game they made was actually pretty good. And then 2008 rolled by, and of course their biggest game came out, Dead Space. And Dead Space, I'm not even gonna lie to you right here. I could not play that game when I was a kid. Well, not kid. I was like 18 when it came out, or 17. I don't know when exactly it came out, but I was like around that age. I couldn't play that game. I was terrified. Okay, and I didn't have any friends that wanted to play it with me, so I sat there just. Oh, I bought it too. I bought it right when it came out. I was like, I can't do this. I played a little bit of it and I left it alone. I couldn't play it anymore. So I never finished that game. I'm not even going to lie to you. It was too terrifying for me. And after hearing Visceral Games got shut down, it actually made me want to go back and finish Dead Space 1. Because I finished Dead Space 2 and 3. Dead Space 2 I beat, I think, twice. 3 I beat once, and I got like halfway through again in co-op. But those games, the ones I played at least all the way through, were great. I loved the third one. I know a lot of people didn't, but I loved it. 2 was amazing. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Dead Space 1 I really want to go back to now because, whew, I mean, I've seen playthroughs, so I know exactly where it leads, but I would love to play that again. So, and that's also on backwards compatibility. So that's one good thing about this happening. It makes me really want to play Dead Space again. It's really not a good thing. It's just, it sucks that it happened. But they also made a Godfather 2 game, which wasn't that great. They had some stumbles, okay? Dante's Inferno was good. It had great visuals, and it was terrifying. That's for sure. When it came to its visuals, oh, it was really disturbing. But it wasn't, I wouldn't say that was a great game. I thought it was a solid game, but not great. But they had their stumbles. They had Godfather 2. They had, more recently, they had Army of Two, The Devil's Cartel, which... no. And it's weird that they made that because they didn't even make the first 2 games, which I don't like the first game, but I did actually enjoy the second game. I forgot who made the first 2 Army of Two games. But and then they did Battlefield Hardline, so they were slowly becoming less and less the studio that everybody loved. Even with Dead Space 3, I love Dead Space 3, but that started to go, ooh, it's going into some territory that maybe the series shouldn't go to, but I still really liked it. It was still Dead Space is the thing. It was still really solid. That freaking fly is buzzing around. But Army of Two, Devil's Cartel was bad, and so was Battlefield Hardline, in my opinion. And then they were, of course, working on a Star Wars game, and now I don't know if it's canceled. I don't think it is. I think they're moving it to some other studio. But yeah, it sucks, man. It really does, because these guys have been a part of my childhood for a very long time, you know, with some really great James Bond games, a really awesome Lord of the Rings game, and then, of course, they moved on to Dead Space, which terrified the hell out of me. And, yeah, I mean, they have been around for so long. Almost 20 years. 1998 they were founded. They almost made it to 20 years, and then EA was just like, nah, screw it. You know what? You should do Battlefield Hardline. You're so not in our respect book. Is that a thing? Respect book. You're not that big of a thing. So much that we're gonna let you do a Battlefield game that doesn't have a number on it. That's how unimportant you are. You're gonna do a spin-off to Battlefield. Thanks. Ah, fucking sucks. I mean, it even makes me a little bit less excited for stuff like Battlefront 2, just because how much they don't give a shit. It really does seem like EA just doesn't give a fuck. Like, they really don't. It's sad. It really is. Visceral Games was a great company that I really loved their games, even when they had some stumbles. I mean, that's when you really appreciate a studio, when you can see their faults but still love them and love what they did. And I really hope that everybody that worked there, at least all the, the good people, I'm sure there were some shit people there, but I mean, they were made by EA, so I'm not gonna get into EA. I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm just gonna say I hope everybody that worked there gets a job somewhere else. Hopefully EA didn't just say, screw it, you're all on your own. Maybe they morphed them into a different studio. Maybe that's what they did. Maybe they turned Visceral into something else, or maybe took a lot of the best people from Visceral and put it into, I don't know, DICE or whatever, some other company EA owns. BioWare, I don't know. Yeah, so there you go. It's sad. It really is. And it makes me less interested in a lot more EA properties in the future, especially when EA has been screwing up lately, especially with Battlefront and Mirror's Edge and canceling that Criterion like all-terrain sports game or whatever the hell it was, and they cancel a lot of stuff, and they get rid of a lot of studios, and they just do all these dumb things. And I thought they were kind of making up for it with Battlefront 2, where like the season pass, there was no season pass, everything was free, and then I hear these microtransactions, then I see this, I'm just like, again, I'm not going to talk too much about EA, even though I did. Well, anyway, see you later, Visceral Games. You always be remembered. You, Irrational Games, what else? I know Irrational Games was EA, but I'm thinking of my favorite companies that were shut down. I'm sure there's a Pandemic who was shut down by EA. But some of my favorites that got shut down. You will always be remembered in my heart. So thank you again, Visceral Games, for developing some really awesome games in the past and in the present, and hopefully you guys move on to other things. So there you go. Thank you, and until next time, goodbye. I love video games. Oh.